United is how a Texas A&M professor wants to remember September 11th, 2001. 20 years ago, he was a college graduate with a new job in New York City, and he felt as if his whole life was in front of him. He had no way of knowing just how right he was. In 2001, Dr. Nathan Harness's whole life was numbers. At 22 years old, fresh out of college, he had just started working as a stockbroker for Morgan Stanley.
Their headquarters were right there in New York, in Tower 2 of the World Trade Center.
His first day, September 9th. 2 days later, on September 11th, he stopped in the lobby of Tower 2 for his ID picture, then headed to the 61st floor with 200 others.
I just remember looking out the window and thinking, wow, I've made it. We were on break. I walked into the center of the complex, so the middle of the building itself, and was in a room. Whenever I came out, it was as though everything had changed. A visceral moment for me is seeing office papers in the sky everywhere on fire. And I knew something was wrong.
The Twin Towers were so large that when Tower 1 got hit, people in the lower levels of Tower 2 didn't hear or see anything.
I couldn't look out and up and see into the 90s, which was 30 some odd floors above me, and see the impact zone. So none of us knew.
They were all then told to sit down at their desks. Nathan had an impulse to leave.
Grabbed my briefcase, grabbed all of my papers for the day, and began to stand up. That's when the manager of our floor came over the intercom and said, "Evacuate Tower 2."
They began the descent down, one at a time. Still, no one knew what had happened. Then the second plane hit Tower 2 when Nathan was around the 44th floor. The building rocked so violently, Nathan was knocked down to his knees.
I couldn't even hold on to the stairwell and stay standing. Drywall was cracking. People were screaming that we were all going to die.
What began as fear turned calm for Nathan. He says because of his faith.
I knew that if I died that day, that would not be the end of my story.
From that moment, although no one knew it, a clock had been set. We now know they had just 59 minutes to get out of Tower 2. When Nathan reached the lobby, he heard emergency alarms and screams, the sight of rescue personnel, broken glass and bodies on the ground, as if it was a war zone. But he pushed until he was outside.
And I looked back, and that was the first time I had any indication of what had happened to the building, as I saw two gaping holes in Tower 1 and Tower 2. At that moment, I got the impulse, run.
Nathan didn't stop running until he reached his hotel.
I walked into the lobby, and I told the hotel clerk that I needed to call my parents. I'd just gotten out of the World Trade Center, and I wanted them to know that I was alive. I could just simply tell my family that I had made it. So they knew it was me, and they knew I was alive, and we celebrated on the phone. In that moment, I was able to get out of the World Trade Center.
20 years later, it's not those sirens or the terror of that day that stays with him the most. He chooses to focus on the people who didn't know one another, who made the ultimate sacrifice.
I can never repay the sacrifice in kind for those who made the sacrifice for me on 9/11. But what I can do is live every day to its fullest and love everyone that I get an opportunity to share with as often as I can.
Nathan says he shares this story with his Texas A&M students and tells them not to be caught up in simply existing, but live every day to the fullest.